When it comes to navigating careers, cowboys, kids, and cattle, it can feel lonely sometimes, like you're down in the trenches trying to do all the things. But I want to share with you that it doesn't have to feel that way. I joined the Cowgirls Over Coffee membership in May of 2020, and y'all, it has been such a gift. It has allowed me to connect with women with that Western and rural background that simply get it. They understand what I'm working with. We get to share strategies, encouragement, and hold each other accountable as we're pursuing goals in all of these different areas of life. To learn more, visit cowgirlsovercoffee.com or check out episode 45 of the Cowgirl Confessions podcast that features the founder of Cowgirls Over Coffee, Thea Larson. I hope to see you there. Hey y'all, and welcome. You're listening to the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm your host, Dakota Dawn Johnson, small town cowgirl with southern roots, blazing a trail as a Midwest ranch wife, mama, and businesswoman. The mission of Cowgirl Confessions is to share the wonderfully wild and Western life stories of cowgirls from all walks of life. We'll talk about the highs, the lows, and everything in between when it comes to navigating careers, cowboys, kids, and cattle. Legendary cowgirl Dale Evans said it best. Cowgirl is a pioneer spirit, a special brand of American courage. The cowgirl faces life head-on, lives by her own lights, and makes no excuses. Cowgirls take stands. They speak up. They defend the things they hold dear. A cowgirl might be a rancher, a barrel racer, a bull rider, or an actress, but she's just as likely to be a checker at the local Winn-Dixie, a full-time mother, a banker, an attorney, or an astronaut. If you're into wet saddle blankets, talks with God, buckets full of laughter, and the life lessons learned in the process, kick off your boots and settle in. I pray these stories encourage, empower, and give you just the leg up you need. Here's to embracing the cowgirl state of mind, no matter how wild and Western life may get along the way. Welcome to another episode of the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. Thanks for being here today, friend. At the time I'm recording this, the holiday season is approaching, which also means that I have pictures, and more pictures on my to-do list. I don't know if anyone else can relate, but it's like, okay, we need to take the family photos and I need to get headshots made for things I have going on with my business for the new year. And I need to print off the pictures, which is not a strength of mine. It's not. I don't even know why, but it's not. And so I'm determined to turn that around this year, actually print photos off to put on our bare walls in our home. And you know what? Possibly even print off Christmas cards. Maybe. Like, I haven't sent out a Christmas card via snail mail since the first year my husband and I got married. And I have no good excuse other than I haven't made it a priority. And it doesn't feel good when I say that. So it's going to be a priority for me to get photos taken and printed off this year. With all of that said, while I've been going through lots of photos from the past few years that I want to print for our home, I was quickly reminded of a time that I didn't take photos because it's a chapter, a short season of my life that I don't have photos to look back on. You see, when I was pregnant with our first son, Monroe, I didn't have any maternity pictures taken. And look, I get some women choose to not do that at all. They just don't want to. And that's fine, to each their own. But I didn't take them because I didn't want to. And it's not even because I didn't plan it, because I did. I went through all the steps, but then I didn't take maternity pictures with our first child because I let grief consume me. I let it rob me of this very special moment. And I want to share a little bit about that with you today. You see, I kept myself very, very busy through my entire pregnancy. It was a very demanding season that was still requiring very frequent travel with my career. But looking back now, I can also see that I was intentionally, well, not realizing I was doing it, but, unintentionally, intentionally keeping my schedule filled to the brim in order to avoid giving myself the space to deal with my emotions. I was just burying them. I'd lost my mom unexpectedly 4 years before I began my own motherhood journey. And I knew that I'd want to call and ask her lots of things, right? But what I wasn't prepared for was motherhood grief. And it was the reality that I'd be the one passing down her stories and keeping her memory alive. This felt so heavy. And on the day of my maternity photo shoot, I just couldn't keep the emotions inside any longer. I had that photo shoot planned for a Sunday afternoon. The weather was beautiful. And that morning, while I stood there listening to the praise and worship music at church, tears just began rolling down my face. And one of those situations where, like, you need the good cry, but you don't want the good cry to get to, like, the next stage of, like, uncontrollable crying in front of all the people, especially when you're sitting on, like, the first row in church and you're gonna have to turn and walk past everybody on the way out with a red face. And so my husband can, like, see the tears rolling down my face, and he just squeezed my hand. And as our pastor was praying at the end of the service, I just grabbed Tyler's hand and got the car keys and went ahead and went out to the car in order to avoid seeing everyone after the prayer was over and the end of the praise and worship music for the service. So I managed to get to the car before I had some, phase two, I'd like to call it, that next level of the ugly crying that I just couldn't stop, where it turns from tears rolling down your face to where you better have a Kleenex close because it's about to be a mess. And we got home, and I had just enough time at this point to get, fixed up for the photo shoot. And I just couldn't stop crying. It just got worse. Like, I absolutely lost it, hit my knees, ugly crying, like pleading with God, kind of lost it. Now, I'd been upset before, and I thought I'd been grieving all these years, and while I had, this was like a whole new rodeo because my hormones were in high gear, felt like my heart was breaking all over again, and on top of that, I had guilt, like serious guilt for not just being happy in my motherhood journey. It made me feel so ungrateful, which was the furthest thing from what I actually was. I was so grateful. I'd had, honestly, just like a really uneventful, easy pregnancy. I had not been very sick. Like, we had a healthy baby, on board, like all these things that I was so grateful for. Yet my heart was broken and I was just so, so sad. So I text my sister-in-law. I like to call her that. She's my sister-in-law, but she's also our very talented photographer of the family. That's who I had my maternity photo shoot planned with. And I couldn't even call her. I had to text her and just told her I couldn't take the pictures. And she said, "Okay, well, do you want to reschedule, for another time?" And all I could text back was, "No, I'm sorry, but I just can't take them." And God bless her, like, she didn't pry, she didn't, and I mean, my sister-in-law and I are close, but I think she just knew, like, I was I was just having a moment, and she just said, "Okay, I love you." That's all she said in the text. And I'm telling you, there wasn't enough concealer and waterproof mascara to fix the mess of myself I had made. And I'm so grateful that she was so gracious in that moment to not try to push me to do something. She just let me be, right? And I shared this because I'm confident there is a woman somewhere listening to this, or maybe you have a friend that you need to share this with that has had some sort of, or possibly all of these emotions herself. Maybe it's you. And I want you to know that, sister, you are not alone. And the sun is going to come up again. You will shed many more tears as you embrace motherhood and motherhood grief and all that it has to offer. And you will grow. You will find beauty in the ashes, strength in your weakness. And you'll find that because God. During our second pregnancy, I knew I wanted to capture photos. This was 2 years after I'd had our first son. And I wanted to do so in a way that made me feel close to my mom. I wanted to capture the kind of photos I wish I had of her when she was embarking on her own motherhood journey. And entering into this next chapter, this next opportunity to kind of get something right that I feel like I got wrong the first time, a missed opportunity that I let grief steal from me. I couldn't believe how much fun I actually had and how healing the process of building a vision board and like pinning things on Pinterest and just really like bringing this whole maternity shoot to life was. And again, my sister in love, Ayla, with Ayla Johnson Photography, was so incredible through this process because I was texting and sharing all the things with her that I was like, this is what I want this to feel like. This is the inspiration behind this photo shoot. And the day of the photo shoot, everything felt right. I felt at home. My heart was at peace. And I was so dang proud of myself for being courageous, being brave the second time around, for letting myself feel and have all the emotions when I needed to have them and not keeping them bottled up. And now, make no mistake, I still wore waterproof mascara. That's a daily for me. That's a good life hack if you're needing one, because I cry all the time now. Cry when I'm happy, cry when I'm sad, cry when I'm mad. Waterproof mascara. It's a great thing to have on you at all times. But while I wish I'd had maternity pictures taken from the beginning of my motherhood journey, the lessons I learned from not taking those pictures allowed me to see where I was at and then make the decision to grow through what I was going through the next time around. Grief does not have a timeline, my friend. It's something that we each learn to live with, and it's a unique journey for each and every one of us. In my weakest moments, I'm reminded that He is strong. None of us enjoy walking through the hard things and dealing with big emotions, but this is when we have an opportunity to draw near to the Lord. This is where I find my comfort and my strength to be the kind of mom that I was blessed to have. I pray, my friend, that you don't feel the need to hide your tear-streaked face or bury your emotions for the sake of not wanting to seem ungrateful or dealing with guilt. Instead, I pray you know that you're not alone and God will meet you right where you are, even if it's crying on the kitchen floor or in the aisleway of your barn. He will use your mess as His message if you will let Him. I love and believe in you, friend. I invite you to join me in making each day count of this wonderfully wild and Western life we've been blessed with. Let's ride. Thank you for spending your time with me on the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm so glad y'all stopped by. If you could take a moment to share this episode and tag us on social media, I'd be happier than a cowgirl in a sea of buy one, get one vintage turquoise. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode. New episodes will be released bi-monthly. Please leave us a review if you feel so led by going to iTunes. Your feedback will really help us breed the idea of grabbing life by the horns with a cowgirl state of mind into women across the globe. Some that may have never even had the privilege to throw their leg over a horse, but could most certainly use the cowgirl state of mind while navigating life. Thanks again, y'all. Until next time, keep pursuing your dreams with that all go and no woe mentality. Remember, you're writing a story that's worth saddling up for, sister.